Hey guys, I'm the Pokemon Collector. So today I want to talk to you about the Pokemon movies. So next month, the Detective Pikachu live action movie is coming out, and that made me think, should I make a ranking about all the other movies? So I decided to do it. I decided to make a ranking about the 22 movies that are already out, plus the Mewtwo Returns, Mewtwo Strikes Back movie. So I'm gonna make a ranking out of all 22 movies. This is 100% my opinion. If you have another opinion, put it in the comments. Respect my opinion, and I'll respect yours. So let's get right to it. I've got all the movies on DVD. They are in Dutch, German, and English. Um, let's start. So first off, I've got Jirachi Wishmaker. And the reason Jirachi's Wishmaker is lost is mainly because I don't like the Groudon. So I like the antagonist a bit. I like Flygon and Absol. But otherwise, there's just not much in the movie that I like. I really don't like the Groudon. And I don't like Jirachi's personality. I don't like Max trying to get Jirachi to do stuff. And I just don't like the whole movie. Yeah, in a whole. So if you got a different opinion, if you really like this movie, let me know. But I just don't like this movie. So going on, we have Forever. And again, I just don't like this movie. So why I don't like this movie? Well, Celebi turning dark isn't really a great thing in my opinion, and I don't really like the whole situation with it being resurrected. It just doesn't feel right to me to do it that way. It, I know a lot of people did get emotional on that part. I just didn't. So yeah, I just don't like this movie. The whole plot, it's just cheap to me. So going on, we've got Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea. And again, I don't really hate this movie as much as I do the last two, but I just don't really like the movie. Yet again, it's mostly because I don't like Manaphy as a whole, and I like the Ranger theme, but I don't really like the Ranger theme being used in this movie. Why not make it in another movie? But in this movie, I just don't really like it. It's just not up to par for me, and I really don't like the antagonist either. So next up, we've got Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. Again, the movies are getting better, but yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. You know, the whole thing with Ash and Co disappearing in those crystals was just too weird, in my opinion. So yeah, it just didn't do it for me. I like movies with a lot of action, and these movies just don't have enough action for me. and go too much about storyline I don't really care about. And if you've got a different opinion about it, let me know and I'll respect your opinion. But it's just not my stuff. It's just not my taste. So the next movie is the 22nd movie, The Power of Us. So I did enjoy this movie. I don't think it's bad. Whereas the first movie I said to Yurachi Wishmaker, I would give a 2 out of 10. And the Selby movie I would also give a 2 out of 10. Lucario and the Mystery of Mew I would give 5 out of 10. Manaphy and Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon Ranger at the Top of the Sea, I would also give a 5 out of 10. The Power of Us, I would also give a 5 out of 10, or maybe a 5.5 out of 10. But the main reason I kind of think this movie is mediocre is because of the whole explaining how the characters will work it out. You know, I like the whole build-up for the characters, how they are introduced, and seeing their characters unfold a bit. But it's just too much of it. You know, the story goes from one character to another, and I just don't think it suits the movie all that much. Also, Lugia, one of the two main Pokemon in the movie, the main legendaries in any case, just appears at the end of the movie. And Zoroark, it appears, but not much. So it's just not up to other movies I've seen. That's why it's only getting a 5 out of 10 for me. But I like it better than Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. So next up we have Zoroark, Master of Illusions. And first up, I think this movie is pretty good. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. So the shiny legendaries, Raikou and Suicune, are awesome. But I just don't really care about Zoroark or Zorua. So they are the main Pokemon, but I just don't feel for them. You know, the whole plot of Zorua being kidnapped and Zoroark going after it's just too repetitive in my opinion. But yeah, if you've got another opinion, let me know. But it's a pretty good movie, just not up in the top. So next up is Kyurem and the Swords of Justice. I would give this movie a 6.5 as well. I wouldn't give it a 7 because it's just the same as with the last movie, with the Zoroark movie. There's some things lacking, and I think Caldeo makes for a good story. I think they could have done a better story, but it was pretty good to see Caldeo having to overcome his issues and finally getting into his resolute form. But I think also because Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion got such a small part in the movie, that just made it less appealing to me because I really like Cobalion and Terrakion and Verizon, especially Verizon. So yeah, that made it a bit less appealing to me. Going on to the next one, we have the double movie, so the dual movies of Black and White, Victini and Reshiram, Victini and Zekrom. So these movies I would give a 7 out of 10 because even though I really like the story, um, it just lacks something that, yeah, I don't know what to think of it. Because uh, I've watched both movies, the Zekrom and the Reshiram version, and both have minor differences, like High Dragon and Golurk being shiny or being normal in one or the other. But the whole truth versus ideals thing is just dependent on the movie, and it's a bit of a bummer that they make both movies so likewise, but also a bit different. Because if they made a movie with both Zekrom and Reshiram, I think that would have been better. We had one movie with both instead of two movies with both. So now you've got Victini and Reshiram with also Zekrom, and Victini and Zekrom with also Reshiram, and instead of just one movie with all three. And I think a one movie would have been better. But that's also just my opinion. Let me know if you think otherwise. Going on, we've got Pokemon the movie 20. I Choose You. I would give this movie a 7 as well. Just because it's a bit of a nostalgic factor. Because I've been a fan since 22 years ago. And yeah, I've seen the first episodes, I've seen the whole anime, and there are a lot of things in this movie that make references to the anime, but there are also things that are very different because in the anime, Erika is the fourth gym leader, and in the movie, Erika is the third gym leader. So, what happened to Lieutenant Surge? Other things are with Caterpie being the first being caught, but then they skip over it to Charmander, and not going to go to Pidgeotto or the other Pokemon Ash caught, and that really bugged me when I saw the movie in the theater. So that's one of the main reasons, and the other main reason is I really wanted to see Ash versus Ho-Oh, and I think a lot of people wanted to see that, and it just didn't appear at all. It was just Pikachu chasing towards Ho-Oh, a few battle shots after that, and then nothing. The end. And then they came in the Pokemon Center, Pikachu was all worn out, and that's it. Nurse Joy did say, what Pokemon did you battle? And Ash said, yeah, Ho-Oh. And Nurse Joy was, oh, that's funny. And then, wait, what? But that was the end. I really wanted to see Ash versus Ho-Oh. And it was something I think many people would have wanted to see since the first episodes of the anime. And I think it was a real bummer that we didn't get to see that. So that's why that movie got only a 7 out of 10, in my opinion. Going on, we have another that's about 7.5 out of 10. and that's Diancie and the Cocoon of Destruction. So this movie came out about 2015, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a pretty cool movie. Um, the reason it didn't get higher is because even though I enjoy Diancie as a character, and I enjoy the story of X and Y, it was a bit of a bummer that Xerneas and Yveltal didn't get more limelight. So Yveltal didn't show up till at the end of the movie. Xerneas showed up one or two times, and there wasn't too much action otherwise. So it was a bit of a bummer, but also very good storyline. You know, the poachers going after Diancie, Yveltal changing everything into one big desecrated land, decimated land. Sorry. So that was a pretty good story. Even Yveltal turning everything to stone. It was pretty cool. But there wasn't really much else to go on. So that's why it got a 7.5. Next up, we have Vulcanian and the Mechanical Marvel. So this movie also got a 7.5. In my opinion, it's one of the better movies. From now on, they are all better movies. What I really like about this movie is Majerna. I really like Majerna's personality and character design. And Vulcanian didn't do really much. It was cool to see its steam attack, steam eruption, and it was pretty cool to see all the megas. Even though megas, I don't really care about megas. I like Mega Gengar. I like Shiny Mega Gengar. But yeah, megas don't really appeal to me in the most part. So there's that. But otherwise, it's a good movie and it has a good plot. And yeah, like I said, I like Majerna. So that's why this movie is this far up the list. Next movie, I think a lot of people would disagree with me. They would put it higher on the list, but I think the Pokemon the Movie 3, The Power of the Unknown, is the next one on the list. Because even though it's a good movie, I would give it an 8. I won't put it higher on the list because I think the other movies are better. I would have liked to see a real Entei instead of a made up Entei, and I really don't know what to think about that girl who beat Brock and Misty like it was nothing. So yeah, that's just something I just don't like, because Brock and Misty are gym leaders. They are expected to be powerful trainers, but that girl just beat them like they were nothing. And Ash with Charizard against the Entei, and then the whole castle going into crystals with the Unknown going berserk. It was pretty cool, but it's just something there's some things that are lacking in my opinion, and that's why I can't put it higher. on the list. If you disagree, let me know, because I think a lot of people will disagree with me on this matter. Um, but just let me know. So next up, we have Heroes, and I like the Heroes movie. I would also give it an 8 out of 10. And like I said, I really like the Heroes movie, and it's mostly because of Latios and Latios. I also like the Team Rocket members. I just forgot their names for a minute, but I also like their Oriados and Espeon. And yeah, the whole story could have been better, in my opinion. And I really don't like it that Latios had to, had to give himself up. Let me put it that way, to save the world. I think there could have been a different way to keep both of them alive or something like that. I think the ending did leave something to consider, but I think the ending could have been a bit better. Um, I know most of you don't agree with this, but just let me know in the comments what you think about it. I really like the movie as a whole, but I think some things could have been better. Next up is Genesect and the Legend Awakened. I would also give this movie an 8 out of 10, and that's because it's Mega Mewtwo. Like I said earlier, I'm not too fond of Megas, but if Genesect wasn't in this movie, I think it would have gotten lower on the list. But I like Genesect, and I really like a red Genesect, the shiny version. And I really like the story around Genesect in this movie, with it being unable to go back to where it came from, that being a few thousand years ago. And it's something about that makes this movie better than the others. And yeah, like I said, I don't really like Mewtwo all that much because of its Mega, but otherwise I think it's a great movie. So that's why it's this far up the list. So next up, we have another one that's fairly recent, Hoopa and the Clash of Ages. Yeah, most people don't like this movie. Let me start off by saying that. I know that. But I like this movie. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Just because of the epic battle scenes. I know they could have been better, but I think the battle scenes are really cool, and I really like Hoopa Unbound, and I also like Hoopa Confined. But I think Hoopa Unbound makes this story even better, with it appearing upside down in the backflash in the movie, and even when it comes in the movie, when it comes back again, and it takes over the legendaries, I think it was pretty cool. So all in all, I think this is one of the better movies, but not the best. So next up, we have Pokemon the movie 1.5. It's it's not movie number 1. It's not movie second. It's the Yeah, how do you say it? It's the spin-off more. It's more like a spin-off to the first movie. Um, Mewtwo Strikes Back. The Return of Mewtwo. So the movie follows up from the first movie with Mewtwo vs. Mew. Mewtwo being in Johto this time. Um, I won't spoil anything for people who haven't seen it yet. I think it's a pretty good movie, um, but it's also sort of a spin-off. Um, it's a different kind of movie, not one of the main movies. So yeah, it's just not one of the main movies. But anyhow, it's a good movie, and I would also give it an 8.5. And it has a good story. It goes on with the Giovanni theme. Giovanni's first appearance in a movie since the first movie, I think. Even though Giovanni was also almost only a little bit in the first movie, this movie makes Giovanni come back and gives a good impression of how strong Team Rocket is. And that's one of the main reasons I like this movie so much. Going on, we have Destiny Deoxys. So this movie is one of my favorites. I really like what the storyline. I really like Rayquaza and Deoxys. So I would give this movie also an 8.5 out of 10. But I like this movie more than the others that I gave an 8.5 because the main character, the boy with the white hair, he's insecure and he really is scared of Pokemon, and he has to overcome that fear of Pokemon in order to save the city. And in this movie, Ash isn't the only protagonist, so that makes the movie a lot better than most of the others. So Ash isn't the only one who has to save the world. The other kid needs to save the world too. And Rayquaza is just an awesome Pokemon. Deoxys is just an awesome Pokemon. And yeah, not much else to say there. So that's why this movie is so high on the list. Now we have the top 5 of the movies. And at number 5, we have the first movie, Mewtwo vs. Mew. So, for those of you who don't know, Pokemon the first movie came out in 1998, 1999, I think 1998. Depending on where you live, anyhow. It featured Mewtwo vs. Mew, the story about how Ash was on his adventure, battling an unknown trainer with new Pokemon. We learn the trainer's name, but I just don't remember it for now. Then Mewtwo sends out Dragonite to give Ash a message. Ash, receiving the message, brings him with other trainers to a cave. Mewtwo whips up a storm. Trainers have to go through the storm to the island to meet up with Mewtwo. At this point, they don't know that it's Mewtwo. They just know the strongest trainer is calling for them. and so Mewtwo reveals itself, and there the whole story begins. So for those of you who haven't seen it yet, I won't spoil anything. I just think this movie is a 9 out of 10. Um, it's just one of the best movies there is, and I know many people think it's the best movie. I feel like some minor details could have been better, but that's when I was a kid. I really liked this movie, and now when I think back about it, I think some things could have been better. But it's been 22 years since this movie came out, at least. So it's less than 22 years, but you know what I mean. But it's 22 movies back since this movie came out, and it was the first movie, and it's just so nice to see how things have evolved from them, and it's just a really good movie in itself. That's why it's number 5 on this list. Number 4. So we have 4 movies left. Number 4 is Giratina and the Sky Warrior. Yeah, Giratina and the Sky Warrior is one of my favorite movies. Not only because of Giratina. Giratina is one of the main reasons, but I really like the story. I really like to see the distortion world. I don't really care for Shaman, but I don't think it's bad. It's a spoiled brat as a Pokemon, but I really like its Sky form for some reason. And like I said, I really love Giratina. It's not higher on this list. It's also a 9 out of 10. Just because I don't like Shaman all that much. But I think the rest of the story is great. So, if you've got another opinion about this movie, let me know. But let's continue on to the top 3. At number 3, we have Arceus and the Jewel of Life. So, Arceus is my favorite legendary of them all. And he only made it to number 3 on this list. Mainly because the other 2 are in my opinion better movies. I really like this movie because of the whole returning back to change the future vibe from Back to the Future. And it's just a good movie in its all. So it's put together nicely. The story follows a logical path, and I really enjoyed this movie every time I see it. With not only Arceus, but also Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, with Heatran, with Bronzong, with the Johto starters. I just think this movie doesn't have enough praise from the Pokemon community as a whole. And I really like this movie. And if you've got another opinion about it, let me know. I just like this movie, and that's why it's number 3 on this list. Going on to number 2, we have The Rise of Darkrai. So this one is the 10th movie, and The Rise of Darkrai was the first of the trilogy series with Giratina and the Sky Warrior and Arceus and the Jewel of Life. It was a trilogy of movies inside the movie stream, the movie selection at up till this point. Because the other movies all are movies in and of itself. They don't have any connection to one another. But Darkrai, The Rise of Darkrai, Giratina and the Sky Warrior, and Arceus and the Jewel of Life, they are connected to each other. They have similar, not similar stories, but they have similar timelines following up on each other. Giratina and the Sky Warrior follows up on The Rise of Darkrai, and Arceus and the Jewel of Life follows up on Giratina and the Sky Warrior. And The Rise of Darkrai is my favorite out of the three because Darkrai is such an epic Pokemon, with Dialga and Palkia also being epic Pokemon, that just makes for a good movie. But the storyline is also a great storyline. I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. If not for the flashback. Because the flashback, it was a nice flashback, but I think without the flashback it would have been a bit better. So I would give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. Just because of the flashback. Like I said, I like this movie as a whole, and yeah, there's not much else to say about it because it's such a good movie, and this movie made me like Licky Licky a bit more than I did. I really hated Licky Licky, and this movie made me like Licky Licky. So there's that too. So the last movie on this list and number one spot is for Pokemon the Movie 2000, The Power of One. So I had a hard time choosing between my number one and number two. And eventually I went with The Power of One. I like this movie. It's also not completely good, so I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. But I really like this movie. And the main reason is because of Lugia. I like Lugia a lot. And the whole story about catching Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno to get to Lugia was so great back then. It was a really good story, and Slowking is also really funny. So all in all, with the whole story being just as good as it is, this movie is just the best in my opinion. So out of the 23 movies, with the extra movie included, I think until now Pokemon the Movie 2000 is the best out of the movies from Pokemon so far. So like I said in the beginning, Detective Pikachu the movie is coming out next month. And in July, the Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution movie is coming out. And if you guys like this video, I would think about making a review of those two movies. So let me know in the comments what your opinion about the movies are. Would you rank them otherwise? Or do you have a complete reverse trajectory of the ranking? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time.